What is up, everyone? I just want to thank each and every one of you for listening to this podcast. We have been growing month after month after month, and I appreciate every single one of you. If you haven't subscribed to my Instagram, I encourage you to do that. I post a lot on there. Some personal things, some really cool things, a lot of leadership, a lot of self-awareness, things that I find really interesting. And that is ABQ Jason Rigby. ABQ Jason Rigby is my Instagram. Would love to have you follow me on there. And I want to get into today something that I'm hugely interested in, and I know it will help you tremendously, and that is Marine Corps leadership. Now, I was in the Marine Corps in the 90s and really enjoyed it. I think I really needed it at that time in my life as a teenager. It really helped me develop discipline. I learned a lot about leadership. It's amazing the principles that the Marine Corps teaches, whether you're for war, against war, military-industrial complex, all that garbage, it does not matter. There's been systems that have been in place to teach young men and women exactly how to lead at a very young age. I'm talking, there's leaders in 20, 21, 22-year-olds that are in charge of millions and millions of dollars of equipment. Not only are they in charge of that, take a regular 21-year-old and put them in millions of dollars of equipment, whether it's a Humvee, a helicopter, whatever it may be, but then turn around and make them a leader, then turn around and put them in a life or death situation where they got to take care of the equipment, they got to take care of themselves, and they got to take care of other people where they could die at any moment. That's some pretty heavy duty. That's everything against you, if you think about it. If you're a business and they gave you all those things, how would you like to be able to teach leadership? And we're going to take people that are not qualified. They just got out of high school. And we're going to train them to be amazing leaders. And we all know this. I mean, anybody that you've met that has been successful after they came out of the Marine Corps, a lot of them will attribute to the Marine Corps. So super excited about this. There is an RP0103, and you can look this up online if you just type in RP0103. It's called Principles of Marine Corps Leadership. And it's terminal learning objective, and we're going to get into each one. I'm going to do a small podcast on each of these principles. But in a military environment, identify the leadership traits and principles of the Marine Corps per the reference. And General C.B. Cates, the 19th Commandant of the Marine Corps, he said this, and I think we'll start it off with this. Leadership is intangible, hard to measure, and difficult to describe. Its quality would seem to stem from many factors, but certainly they must include a measure of inherent ability to control and direct, self-confidence based on expert knowledge, initiative, loyalty, pride, and a sense of responsibility. Inherent ability cannot be instilled, but that which is latent or dormant can be developed. Other ingredients can be acquired. They are not easily learned, but leaders can be and are made. General C.B. Cates, love that. I kind of want to break this down before we get into the first principle. Leadership is intangible, hard to measure, and difficult to describe. Of course, this is something that people, how many leadership books is there out there? Everybody kind of has their own. I love John C. Maxwell. He doesn't really describe leadership, but he says everything rises and falls on leadership, which I think 100%, 110%, I'm for that. Usually when I see a problem, it's because of bad leadership. Anything, you can think about it. I'm thinking of our politics right now, Republican, Democrat, whatever they are. Bad leadership creates problems. And he goes and he talks about, they stem from many factors. Even though it's intangible, it's hard to measure. But he said there's these measure of inherent abilities. One is to control and direct. There has to be some control in a situation, whether it's a positive or a negative situation, what we perceive it to be. There has to be control, and then there has to be a direction, a direct, an order, whatever you may call it. And all of these principles that are in the Marine Corps pertain to you being a leader, pertain to your business, pertain to the relationships that you have. They may more use like warlike language, and it may be a little bit more, maybe even for some of you, it may be a little bit more a strain to kind of pay attention and listen to. You may think it's kind of maybe even hostile, but they have to be specific, to the point, and simple so that people get these principles. So that's that we use the word control and direct, like I don't control people. He's talking about control in the sense there has to be control in a situation. You can't have chaos. And then he says self-confidence based on expert knowledge. It's those people that have that. We've all seen it, and maybe you have somebody that works for you right now, or maybe you are this. You just know everything about your work. You know the product. I'm thinking of somebody right now I know that is just, they just have so much knowledge, and they're such an expert. They're like a thought leader, and they have a ton of self-confidence. That naturally, right there, if they have good morals and all that, that naturally, I'm drawn to someone like that. Number one, I'm going to respect them. Number two, I want to listen to them. I want to know them. I'll submit to them and learn from them because I want their wisdom. They put tens of thousands of hours in to be an expert in this knowledge. They said initiative, which we see that all the time. And I always tell people, when you hire somebody, make sure you have to rein them back a little bit. I'd rather somebody take the initiative and go on the wrong path, and then me come in, counsel, coach, and get them back on the right path. Because, you can't, if you take an old racehorse that's done with broken legs, and I'm not referencing age or anything like that, I'm just referencing a horse that has no initiative. And you try to get it to ride, it doesn't want to go anywhere. It doesn't want to do anything. It takes a lot of effort. I don't want that. I want somebody that I'd rather have to kind of pull on the reins and be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, let's go this way. And then loyalty, especially nowadays, that's such an important word, isn't it? For all of us. Loyalty. It's something that is missed. It's something, and I'm saying it's missed because we don't practice it. We don't have self-awareness on it. But loyalty is so important. Having people in your life that you ride or die with. Being loyal to those that you serve as a leader. Loyalty is so important. Next is pride and a sense of responsibility. And I like how he put those two together, because it's not just pride in yourself, and being very prideful and some know-it-all, and some asshole leader. He's talking about this sense of responsibility. You have this pride in you because you know as a leader that you are responsible. Everything rises and falls on leadership. I take 100% responsibility for what's going on here. Then he says inherent ability cannot be instilled, but that which is latent or dormant can be developed. It can be. And that's where coaching comes in. A great leader coaches. You don't have to yell and scream and do all those things. In fact, in the Marine Corps, there was hardly none of that. People, in boot camp and stuff, they do that, to kind of wake you up and get you to understand where they're at. But once you begin to get higher and higher in the ranks, there's no yelling. It's decentralized command, and we're going to get into that. You don't have to. You don't have to be angry and constantly upset. And he says other ingredients can be acquired. They are not easily learned. And that's where if somebody's lazy, they're not going to be a leader because they don't want to learn. They don't want to acquire these other ingredients. But leaders can and are made constantly. We see that all the time. You have people that are waiting for you to take time with them to coach them to be a leader. And he said the traits and principles of leadership are the basic fundamentals that Marines use to develop their own leadership abilities and that of their subordinates. There are 14 leadership traits and 11 leadership principles listed on this lesson. And I want to start with the 14 leadership traits. We're going to hit number 1, and we're just going to go through these. These are going to be short podcasts, and we're going to go through each one of these as a podcast because I feel like we should break it down. Number 1 is justice. Definition: giving reward and punishment according to the merits of the case in question. The ability to administer a system of rewards and punishments impartially and consistently. Oh, this is so good. It comes down to reward and punishment, doesn't it? It's that simple. You may not, like I said, you may not like the terminology, but if you take it and boil it down to the simplest format, you're going to see giving reward. As a leader, you give reward, whether it's, hey, great job. Really appreciate you stepping up, taking responsibility and doing this for me, Bill. You really helped the team out. Or punishment. Hey, Bill, can I have a few minutes? I need to have a conversation with you. It seems like this is happening and this is happening, this is happening. How can we fix this? And he says, according to the merits of the case in question. So you've got to look at the merits. What's going on in this case that's before you? And then if it's justice, and we can think of like a judge here standing and you have an innocent and a guilty person. And you've got to figure this out. As a leader, this is what you got to do. In the Bible, Solomon talks about this a lot in the book of Proverbs, and I think it's really important. And we can also see there's stories in the Bible of Solomon having to do this and understand it. Moses had to deal with this too. These are important stories in the Bible that I encourage you to look at justice and what that looks at. The ability to administer a system of rewards and punishments. Notice they said a system. You've got to have a system down, guys. You've got to be able to know. Most people are reactive with the rewards and punishment based on their narcissistic emotion and how they feel it makes them. A system takes the emotion out, brings the logic in. The system brings consistency. That's what you want in leadership. You want people to understand. In the Marine Corps, this is what you got to have. You've got to have a system of rewards and punishments that's impartial and consistent. Because if you don't, no one knows. If you create, as a leader, if you make it all about you in a team, and then you go to war and everybody's totally dependent on you, and no one depends on how you wake up that day, whether they know if they should do this or that, you're in trouble. Everyone kind of has to be a leader, from a private, first class, all the way up to a sergeant major. Everyone has to be a leader. And if you know the system of rewards and punishment, if it's impartial, well, this is my friend, so I let them get away with stuff, and this person I don't like, so I'm constantly on their ass. You have to be impartial. And your team will see that. They're going to see like, oh, you did this and this and this. Oh, okay, well, this person screwed up, and this is what happened. Oh, I saw that. Oh, he's being impartial. And you get respect off of this. What is your system of rewards and punishment? What is it? Are you impartial? Are you consistent with it? That's so important, guys. That's the definition of justice. Isn't that good? I love it. Next on justice is the significance. The quality of displaying fairness and impartiality is critical in order to gain the trust and respect of subordinates and maintains discipline and unit cohesion, particularly in the exercise of responsibility. Okay, the quality of displaying fairness and impartiality is critical, he says. So being fair and impartial, here's why it's so critical. Because you want to gain, you have to earn it. You don't automatically, because of a title that you have, I'm a CMO, a chief marketing officer. Just because I'm a chief marketing officer doesn't mean the employees that are underneath me have to abide because I have a title. I have to gain their trust and respect. And if I have a quality, notice that word, if I have a quality displaying fairness and impartiality, it maintains discipline and unit cohesion. So how does discipline connect with fairness and impartiality? Because we're going to go back forward, when you have a system of rewards and punishment and everybody knows it and it's consistent, they know how to respond. Even in a situation that may be a battlefield, they understand and know how to respond. And that alone, having the rules clear, creates discipline. If you have a bunch of undisciplined employees, I bet you don't have systems in place. I see this all the time. I was talking with the sales leader a while back, and that's what I told them. I was like, how disciplined are you, number one, and how are you training your sales team? And I guarantee you it comes down to this. They have no idea. If I sit them down and talk to them, there's no trust and respect because they have no idea of what fairness and impartiality is. Put some rules out there. Just because one person makes 60% of the revenue doesn't mean that they're special over someone else. They're not allowed to get away with something that's unethical because they bring in a bigger ROI. You have to have that conversation with them as well as you do with everyone else. Fairness and impartiality, I'm telling you, gains you trust and respect, as they said. Maintains discipline and unit cohesion. Why is there unit cohesion? Because there's clarity and everybody knows how to operate. Not only that, you have cohesion. Why? Not just because of clarity. You have cohesion because they've seen you display rewards and punishments to everyone. Everyone has experienced this. So when everybody has experienced this, it's been fair, it's been impartial, there's strict rules in place, strict things that you must accomplish, KPIs, key performance indicators, put those out there, make them ultra clear for each job description. Here's what I expect from you: daily, weekly, and monthly, and quarterly, and yearly. Daily, this is what I expect from you. And there has to be discipline that, hey, bring them in the next day. You didn't reach your KPIs yesterday. I don't care who you are. You didn't do this. You didn't make your phone calls. You didn't send your emails out, whatever it may be. You didn't post 8 times on the social media account like I asked you to do. Whatever it is. This brings cohesion. Because as you begin to implement rewards and punishments in this system based off of these KPIs, as a business, guess what's going to happen? You're going to gain trust and respect, as it says. You're going to maintain discipline because you're going to do this daily based off of this. And then cohesion begins to happen. And he says this, particularly in the exercise of responsibility. I love that. In the exercise, keyword, exercise of responsibility. It is a daily exercise to be responsible for you as a leader and those that you serve. It is just like working out. It is an exercise of responsibility. When you go to the gym, it's leg day, it's arms, it's biceps and tries, or it's biceps and shoulders, or it's chest and back, whatever it is. You have a thing that you're going to be proactive, and this is what you do. It's an exercise. And this is an exercise of responsibility. And I like it too because it says the exercise of responsibility. You can look at it this way too. When you're displaying fairness and impartiality, when you have a system of rewards and punishments, when you're maintaining discipline daily, this is the exercise of responsibility. People, when there's cohesion, the team becomes responsible. They begin to become leaders. And this is what you want. And this is a missing ingredient. This is justice, guys. There's a definition. This was the significance of it. And here's an example. Fair apportionment of tasks by a squad leader during field day. So here's a really simple. You're going to dish out the task in a fair way. You're not going to give, because you like Susan over everybody else, you're not going to give her one task and then the guy you don't like 3 tasks. It's field day. This is what we do. We're cleaning the barracks. We're cleaning this. We're doing that. We've got to make sure parade deck's all good to go. There's not one piece of trash around. So here's what's going to happen. You, and it becomes fair. You assign the task out fairly. This is so important when it comes to projects, guys. And when you're dealing with other team leaders. This is justice. This is one leadership trait. How good is this, guys? We're going to get into the next one. We're going to get into judgment, then dependability, then initiative, then decisiveness, then tact, then integrity, then enthusiasm, then bearing. Oh, that one's so good. Then unselfishness, then courage, then knowledge, then loyalty, then endurance. So let's go through these 14 leadership traits as a leader from the Marine Corps.
Thank you for joining us on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. And thanks to our sponsor, RigbyDigital.com. Make sure to subscribe and share. And go to abqpodcast.com. Get show notes, resources, and links to everything we talked about today to help you navigate your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner.